She said, "It's harmless. He just calls me baby as a joke." But when I arrived at her work, "It's harmless. That's just Marcus. He's from the hospitality industry. Everyone's baby or sweetheart to him. It's literally meaningless. Please don't turn this into something it's not." That was the explanation. That was the carefully constructed defense that kept me paralyzed for 4 months while my girlfriend worked late nights with a man who apparently couldn't address women by their actual names. Hello friends, before I continue the story, please support the channel by becoming a subscriber and giving the video a like. Also, let us know in the comments where you're watching right now. I'm 34. I'm a structural engineer. I spend my days analyzing stress points, load distributions, and failure thresholds. I know exactly how much pressure a beam can take before it buckles. I know the warning signs of an impending collapse. But somehow, in my own relationship, I ignored every crack, every groan, every sign that the whole thing was about to come crashing down. Megan and I had been together for 4 years. 4 years of Sunday morning farmers markets. 4 years of inside jokes about terrible reality TV. 4 years of building something I thought was permanent. We had talked about ring shopping. We had browsed neighborhoods where we might raise kids. I was ready to build a life with her. Then she got promoted to event coordinator at the Ashworth, the most prestigious boutique hotel in the city. Enter Marcus. Marcus Whitfield was the hotel's general manager. A man whose reputation preceded him in every industry newsletter and hospitality podcast. He had transformed 3 failing properties into destinations. He was a genius, apparently, a visionary, and according to Megan, completely harmless. First, I was proud of her. The promotion was massive, a 40% salary increase, her own office, her name on a door. She deserved it. She had worked brutal hours at her previous position, and this was the payoff. But the job came with baggage I hadn't anticipated. The mentions of Marcus started small. Casual observations dropped into dinner conversation like breadcrumbs I was too naive to follow. Marcus thinks we should rebrand the wedding packages. Marcus has the best wine recommendations. He spent a summer in Bordeaux. Marcus says I have the best instincts of any coordinator he's worked with. I smiled through it. I asked follow-up questions. I was the supportive boyfriend. Then the late nights began. Big client meeting ran long. Don't wait up. Vendor emergency. Marcus needs me to handle it. Team building dinner. It's mandatory. All the senior staff. She'd come home at 11 p.m. smelling like expensive perfume and red wine. Her cheeks flushed, her eyes bright with an energy I hadn't seen directed at me in months. She'd crawl into bed and be asleep in seconds, her phone clutched in her hand like a security blanket. I tried not to be suspicious. I really tried. The text came on a Thursday night. I wasn't snooping. I want to be clear about that. Her phone was charging on the kitchen counter while she showered, and it lit up with a notification. The preview was right there, impossible to miss. Marcus * night night baby girl. Dream of me. My stomach dropped through the floor. Baby girl. Dream of me. Kiss emoji. I stood there, frozen, water running in the background, my entire world restructuring itself around this new information. When she came out of the bathroom, towel wrapped around her hair, I was sitting at the kitchen table. Her phone was still on the counter. The screen had gone dark, but the message was burned into my retinas. "Hey," she said, not noticing my expression. "Did you eat? I'm starving. Marcus texted you." She paused, her hand hovering over the refrigerator door. "Okay. He called you baby girl. Told you to dream of him." The temperature in the room dropped 10 degrees. She turned slowly, and I watched her face cycle through several expressions. Surprise, calculation, and finally, irritation. "You went through my phone?" "It was on the counter. It lit up. I saw the preview. That's still an invasion of privacy." "Answer the question, Megan." She sighed. A long, theatrical exhale that positioned her as the victim of an unreasonable interrogation. "Marcus is just... he's like that. He's affectionate with everyone. He calls the valet guys sport and champ. He calls the housekeeping manager dear. It's just his personality. It's a hospitality thing. Baby girl isn't the same as sport. Oh my God. She rolled her eyes, grabbing a yogurt from the fridge. Are we really doing this? Are you really going to be jealous of my 52-year-old boss because he has an old-fashioned way of talking? It's not old-fashioned. It's intimate. It's harmless. She enunciated each syllable like she was explaining something to a slow child. Marcus has been married for 25 years. He has grandchildren. He's not interested in me. He's interested in me doing my job well, which I do. Exceptionally. She spooned yogurt into her mouth, maintaining eye contact. Unless you want me to file an HR complaint against my own boss and torpedo my career because you're feeling insecure. Is that what you want? I felt the ground shifting beneath me. Suddenly, I was the problem. I was the obstacle. My legitimate concern had been reframed as jealousy, as insecurity, as a threat to her professional advancement. I'm not insecure, I said, but my voice had lost its conviction. Then stop acting like it. She threw the empty yogurt container in the trash. I'm tired. I'm going to bed. We can talk about this when you've calmed down. She walked past me without a touch, without a kiss, without acknowledgement that she had just dismissed the foundation of my concern. I sat at that kitchen table for an hour, replaying the conversation, trying to figure out how I had become the villain in a story where another man was calling my girlfriend pet names at midnight. The hotel's annual charity gala was 3 weeks later. It's the biggest event of the year, Megan explained while applying mascara. All the major donors, the city council, press coverage. Marcus has been planning this for months. I need you to be charming. I'm always charming. I mean actually charming. Not that thing you do where you stand in the corner and analyze the building's structural integrity. That was one time. It was 3 times. And tonight I need you present. This is my career, okay? My reputation in this industry depends on tonight going perfectly. I adjusted my tie, watching her reflection in the mirror. She was wearing a black dress that hugged every curve. Her hair swept up in an elaborate style I'd never seen before. She looked stunning. She looked like she was preparing for a completely different event than the one I thought we were attending. Who did your hair? I asked. The hotel salon. Marcus arranged it. He wanted all the senior staff to look polished. Marcus arranged it. I swallowed the comment that rose in my throat. I was going to be charming. I was going to be present. I was going to prove to myself that I was overreacting. The ballroom was transformed. Crystal chandeliers, ice sculptures, a string quartet playing something classical and expensive. The Ashworth had spared no expense. Marcus found us within 5 minutes of our arrival. I had seen photos of him in industry publications, but they didn't capture his presence. He was tall, silver-haired, with the kind of tan that suggested winter vacations and golf courses. His suit probably cost more than my car payment. He moved through the room like he owned it, which functionally he did. Megan! He opened his arms wide, and she walked into them without hesitation. The hug lasted too long. His hand rested on her lower back, fingers splayed. You look absolutely divine. That dress was worth every penny. That dress. Every penny. You bought her dress? The question came out before I could stop it. Marcus turned to me, his smile never faltering. And you must be. He paused, snapping his fingers. Don't tell me. Derek. David. David. Of course. He gripped my hand, pumping it enthusiastically. Megan talks about you constantly. The engineer, right? Building bridges or something? Structural engineering. Buildings, mostly. Fascinating work. Real salt-of-the-earth stuff. He was already turning back to Megan. I need to borrow her for a few minutes. Donor introductions. You understand. Grab a drink. Open bar. Top shelf. Megan arranged the whole thing. She's a miracle worker. He placed his hand on her back again and guided her away. She looked over her shoulder at me, mouthing, "Be good." I went to the bar. I nursed a whiskey for an hour, watching from across the room as Megan and Marcus worked the crowd together. They moved as a unit, anticipating each other's movements. When she laughed at something a donor said, Marcus laughed too. When he leaned in to whisper something, she tilted her head toward him instinctively. They looked like a couple. I kept telling myself I was imagining it. Professional partnership, coordinated hospitality, team dynamics. Then the seated dinner began. I found my place card at a table near the back, sandwiched between the hotel's head of housekeeping and a city council member's spouse. Megan was at the main table, with Marcus. Their chairs were close enough that their arms touched when they reached for water glasses. The salad course came and went. The main course arrived. I made small talk about thread counts and property taxes, but my eyes kept drifting to the front of the room. The lights dimmed for a video presentation about the charity, something involving underprivileged youth and hotel industry mentorship. In the darkness, I saw something that made my blood run cold. Marcus's hand, sliding under the tablecloth. Megan, shifting in her seat. A small, suppressed smile crossing her face. The video ended. The lights came up. Marcus was applauding, both hands visible as if nothing had happened. Maybe I imagined it. Maybe it was just the angle, the low lighting, my own paranoid projections. I excused myself to use the restroom. I didn't go to the restroom. I circled around the ballroom, approaching the main table from behind, positioning myself at an angle where I could observe without being seen. A waiter passed with a tray, and I pretended to examine the dessert options, buying myself time. From this angle, I could see under the table. Marcus's hand was on her thigh, not resting, moving. His fingers traced patterns on her skin, pushing the fabric of her dress higher. And Megan, my Megan, the woman I was planning to marry, had her hand on top of his, not pushing it away, but guiding it. She leaned toward him, whispering something. He laughed, a low, intimate sound. His thumb hooked under the hem of her dress. I watched for 30 seconds that lasted an eternity. Then I walked out. I didn't make a scene. I didn't confront them. I simply walked through the ballroom, past the silent auction tables, through the lobby with its marble floors and fresh flowers, and out the front entrance. The valet looked at me expectantly. "The blue Accord," I said, handing him my ticket. He returned with my car. I tipped him $20, my last cash, and drove away from the most prestigious hotel in the city with my heart rate finally beginning to stabilize. The apartment was dark when I got home. I turned on every light. I wanted brightness. I wanted clarity. I wanted the shadows gone. I started with her closet. I wasn't throwing things. I wasn't destroying. I was simply removing. Each hanger, each folded sweater, each pair of shoes that had accumulated in my space over 4 years. I placed everything into garbage bags with the methodical precision of an engineer dismantling a failed structure. The bathroom was next. Her shampoo, her face creams, her birth control pills. The hair ties that lived on every surface. The towel that was hers, even though all the towels were technically mine. By midnight, I had filled 7 garbage bags and 2 boxes. I dragged everything to the hallway and piled it outside my door. Then I went back inside, deadbolt the lock, and sat on my couch in the sudden emptiness. She didn't come home until 2 a.m. I heard her heels clicking in the hallway. Then silence. Then a confused knock. "David? Why is all my stuff out here? David?" I didn't answer. "David, this isn't funny. Open the door." Silence. "David, I swear to God, if you don't open this door right now." I walked to the door but didn't open it. "I saw you," I said through the wood. "Under the table." His hand. Your hand on top of his. Silence from the other side. Then, "You don't know what you saw. It was dark. And you were across the room. And Marcus was just, stop." My voice was calm. Terrifyingly calm. I walked behind the table. I saw everything. I watched for 30 seconds. 30 seconds of his hand between your legs while you smiled. More silence. "David, please open the door. We need to talk about this. You're being crazy. Your stuff is in the hallway. Take it. Leave your key under the mat. Don't contact me. You can't just. We've been together 4 years. You can't throw that away because of a misunderstanding. There's no misunderstanding. There's you, letting another man grope you at a charity gala while I sat 50 feet away like an idiot. There's you, calling me insecure for months while you carried on an affair with your boss. There's you, standing on the other side of this door, still trying to gaslight me when I watched it happen. It wasn't an affair. Her voice cracked. It was nothing. He means nothing. It was just attention, and I was confused. And, goodbye, Megan. David, please. Please. I love you. I made a mistake. One mistake. Don't do this. I walked away from the door. I went to my bedroom. I put in earbuds and played white noise until the sounds of her crying and pleading in the hallway faded to nothing. When I woke up the next morning, the bags were gone. Her key was under the mat. The silence that followed was remarkable. I blocked her number. I blocked her email. I blocked her on every social media platform. I created a wall of digital silence so complete that she ceased to exist in my virtual world. The real world was harder to manage. Her friends reached out first. David, you need to hear her side. David, you're being cruel. David, everyone makes mistakes. I blocked them too. Her mother called. Her sister sent a handwritten letter. Her father showed up at my office once, standing in the lobby with an expression of practiced disappointment, as if I were the one who had destroyed everything. I refused to see him. At work, I buried myself in projects: a hospital expansion, a bridge retrofit, an earthquake assessment for a school district. I worked 12-hour days, losing myself in calculations and stress analyses, in problems that had clean solutions. The gym became my therapy. I went every morning at 5 a.m., before the thoughts could catch me. I lifted until my muscles screamed, until physical exhaustion crowded out the mental loops. I didn't date. I didn't look. I focused on rebuilding myself the way I would rebuild a compromised structure, systematically, carefully, with attention to every load-bearing element. The update came 3 months later, through a colleague who worked with a contractor at the Ashworth. Did you hear about Marcus Whitfield? He asked over lunch. I kept my face neutral. No. Resigned. Quietly, but everyone knows it was forced. Apparently there were multiple complaints, not just from staff but from guests too. He was a predator, man. They found emails, text messages. Real bad stuff. His wife filed for divorce last month. I took a bite of my sandwich. That's unfortunate for his family. Your ex worked there, right? Megan something? She did. Word is she was one of the main ones involved with him. Not a victim, a participant. She thought she was special, apparently. Thought he was going to leave his wife for her. He shook his head. She's not at the hotel anymore. They asked her to resign too. The whole thing was a liability nightmare. I finished my sandwich. I thought about how Megan had probably imagined a future with Marcus. Thought she was playing a winning hand while I was the fool at the table. Thought she had traded up. Now Marcus was disgraced, divorced, and unemployable. And Megan was jobless in an industry where reputation was everything. I felt nothing. Not satisfaction. Not pity. Just the quiet confirmation that foundations matter, that you can't build something lasting on dishonesty, that eventually every poorly designed structure fails. She found me 6 months after the gala. I was at a bookstore near my apartment, browsing the architecture section, when I heard her voice. David. I looked up. She had aged. Not dramatically, but noticeably. The spark that had animated her was dimmed. She was thinner, paler, her hair hanging limp in a way she never would have allowed when she worked at the Ashworth. Megan, I saw you come in. I was at the coffee shop across the street. I wasn't stalking you. I wanted to talk. There's nothing to talk about. Please. She stepped closer, and I could see the desperation in her eyes. 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. Just hear me out. I looked at the book in my hands, a retrospective on Frank Lloyd Wright. I had been enjoying my Saturday morning. 3 minutes, I said. Here. Say what you need to say. She nodded rapidly, gratefully. I was wrong. I know that. I've known it since that night. He was manipulative. He made me feel special, made me feel like I was exceptional, and I got lost in it. I got lost in the attention, the gifts, the way he looked at me like I mattered. You mattered to me. I know. Tears welled in her eyes. I know you did, and I threw it away for someone who saw me as a conquest, as a game. He did the same thing to other women before me. I wasn't special. I was just available. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. I lost everything, David. My job, my friends. Most of them took your side, and I don't blame them. My family is disappointed in me. I've been seeing a therapist, trying to understand why I would risk something real for something so empty. I'm glad you're getting help, I said, and I meant it. The therapist says I have attachment issues, fear of genuine intimacy, that I sabotage real relationships because I'm scared of being truly known. She laughed bitterly. Apparently, I'd rather be desired than loved, because desire feels safer, because love requires vulnerability. I absorbed this. It sounded true. It sounded like something I couldn't have fixed even if I tried. I'm not asking you to take me back, she continued. I know that's impossible. I destroyed your trust. I made you question your own sanity when you were right all along. That's unforgivable. It is. She nodded, accepting the verdict. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry, truly sorry. Not because I got caught, not because my life fell apart, but because I hurt someone who loved me, and I'll carry that for the rest of my life. I looked at her for a long moment, the woman I had planned to marry, the future I had imagined. It all seemed so distant now, like memories from someone else's life. Thank you for saying that, I said. I hope you find what you're looking for, but I won't be part of your healing process. I've done my own healing, and it didn't include you. I understand. She was crying freely now, not dramatically, just quietly accepting. Can I ask one thing? You can ask. Are you happy? I considered the question. I thought about my quiet apartment, my morning gym routine, my work that challenged and fulfilled me. I thought about the therapist I'd been seeing, the friends I'd reconnected with, the life I was building brick by brick. I'm getting there, I said. She smiled through her tears. A sad, genuine smile. Good. You deserve that. She turned and walked away, out of the bookstore, out of my Saturday, out of my life. I went back to browsing Frank Lloyd Wright. A year later, I met someone. Her name was Rachel. She was an urban planner I crossed paths with on a mixed-use development project. She was direct, practical, and had zero tolerance for games. On our third date, she told me about her previous relationship. A 5-year engagement that ended when she discovered her fiancé had been maintaining a separate life with a woman in another city. I was suspicious for months, she said, spinning pasta around her fork. He made me feel crazy for questioning him, called me paranoid, called me controlling. Turned out my paranoia was just pattern recognition. I know exactly what you mean. We talked for 4 hours that night. About trust, about betrayal, about the slow work of rebuilding after someone systematically dismantles your reality. The worst part wasn't the cheating, she said. It was the gaslighting. Being told my instincts were wrong when they were screaming at me. You weren't wrong, I said. Neither was I. She reached across the table and took my hand. No, we weren't. Rachel and I moved in together after 8 months. We communicate obsessively. We check in. We say the hard things. Neither of us assumes the other can read minds. It's not perfect. Real relationships never are. But it's honest, and after what I went through, honest feels like a miracle. Sometimes I think about that night at the gala. The moment I bent down and saw the truth that had been hidden under the table. The 30 seconds that changed everything. I could have stayed. I could have confronted them publicly, made a scene, demanded answers. I could have let Megan explain, let her minimize, let her convince me that my eyes were lying. Instead, I walked out. I chose myself. I chose my own reality over the narrative she was constructing. It was the hardest thing I've ever done. And the most important, because here's what I learned. When someone tells you that your instincts are wrong, that what you're seeing isn't real, that you're being paranoid or insecure or jealous, pay attention. Pay close attention. Not to their words, but to the pattern of dismissal. To the way they redirect blame. to the gap between what they say and what you feel. Your gut knows things your conscious mind hasn't processed yet. It sees the hand under the table before you do. It hears the text at midnight before you read it. It understands that baby girl isn't harmless, that work husband isn't funny, that he's just like that isn't an explanation. Trust yourself, even when they try to convince you not to, especially then. Last month, Rachel and I went to a charity gala. Different hotel, different city. We sat at a table with strangers, and I found myself watching couples around the room. The ones leaning in, the ones leaning away, the ones whose hands were visible, and the ones whose hands were not. Old habits, I guess. Rachel noticed me observing. "You okay?" "I'm good," I said, and I was. Under the table, I found her hand and held it. Nothing to hide, nothing to explain, just two people who had learned the hard way that trust is earned, that respect is demonstrated, and that anyone who tells you it's harmless probably knows that it isn't. We left the gala early, not because anything was wrong, but because home sounded better than staying. In the car, Rachel turned to me. "That was nice, but also kind of boring." "Boring is underrated," she laughed. "Fair point." We drove home through empty streets, her hand on my knee, and I thought about the architecture of relationships, how they're built layer by layer, how some materials are sturdy and some only look sturdy, how the foundation is everything, invisible but essential. I used to think love was the foundation. Now I know it's trust. Love is the structure you build on top. Beautiful, necessary, but meaningless if what's underneath is cracked. My foundation is solid now. I made sure of it, and I'll never let anyone paint over the cracks again. Thank you for watching all the way through. There's another story to your left screen. You'll enjoy it more than this one.